Hello everyone, Welsh Witch here. Today I'm going to do a video that just basically talks about what is paganism. But before I do that, I absolutely have to talk about last Sunday. Last Sunday I went to a spiritual full moon blessing drumming circle at the top of Blaen Bran, which is in Cwmbran in South Wales, and it was phenomenal. It was one of the most magical experiences I've ever encountered. It was the energy there was just, it was crazy, it was insane. I might tag on a little bit of the drumming video to the end of this video. You can't really see much, but you can hear, and that's the important bit. It was just a group of, amazing people all together and bringing their shamanic drums and bongos and things together underneath this canopy, and there was a fire, and it was so beautiful. The first set of drumming and chanting that was done though was a song dedicated to a very lovely lady who sadly passed away last week. Her name was Di O'Neill. I only met Di once myself, but she was very kind, very generous, and she offered me a lot of advice. I messaged her back and forth a few times, and she, she barely knew me, and she was more than happy to give me advice on things, and she was such a kind lady. And I mean, that shows by how many people are mourning her loss and how many people loved her, and she was such a pillar in her community. And I just want to say that it is such a sad loss for the pagan and spiritual community, but I'm also comforted knowing that she is back with spirit now, and that she's going to enrich this world as much as she did in life. But other than that, there was a beautiful song, that was sung for her, and it was fantastic. And then there was more drumming and chanting, and it was just such a beautiful evening. I mean, the energy was palpable, and I definitely felt the presence of spirit there. There was a moment I was sat sort of around the edge of the canopy, and this breeze blew in and just sort of took over me, and I could definitely feel it there. We did a bit of drumming as well, because of there was some dragon energy in the air. I believe the day before a lot of people went down to Avebury for the National Dragon Day, and there was definitely a sense of that dragon power in the air. If anyone's familiar with totem animals, you'll know how strong a totem can make itself known, and I definitely felt there were dragons with us that night, and I'm pretty sure I saw one in the smoke billowing up, which was fantastic. A lot of people think, oh, do you really see dragons and stuff like that? But well, yes, in my opinion, yes, I did. I saw a dragon, and there's actually a really good dragon video that was recently done by Daligan, Red Witch. So I'll post a link to that down below, and you can have a little look at her take on dragons and feeling dragon energy. So, talking about what is a pagan. Now, if you pick up a dictionary, a pagan, the technical term for a pagan is someone who's not a Christian. So technically speaking, someone who is Jewish, someone who is Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, anyone that's not a Christian, an atheist, an agnostic, is a pagan. But of course, that's not what it means anymore. It now means something very different. Paganism, I look at it like a big umbrella. I mean, you have this umbrella of Christianity, and underneath that you've got Protestants and Catholics. And then under Protestants you have your Methodists, your Evangelists, your Presbyterians, your Seventh-day Adventists, So I look at paganism as this big umbrella, and then underneath that you have got you've got Wiccans, you've got Druids, you have people who don't really mark themselves as anything like that but call themselves witches. Then you have your grey witches, black witches, white witches, solitary witches, hedge witches. So it is this big term that a lot of people can get quite funny about it, actually. Especially if you tell someone, like for me, how I identify myself is I'm a solitary witch and I'm a pagan. Now a lot of people assume that means that I'm a Wiccan, but I'm not, because I mean, Wiccan came about sort of in the in the 50s. I think it was the 50s, sorry if it wasn't. The Gardinian movement. I want to say Jason Garden. I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know his name. But anyway, it sort of came around in the 50s, and that's what people refer to when they say New Age. And that is a very particular movement. I mean, if you're going to be a Wiccan, you usually have to take the Wiccan Rede. I mean, you don't have to, but you can. It's got a lot of rules to it. I know one of which is being a vegetarian, which I am not. Sorry. But that is just one, you know, that's one thing. There's a lot of spells and things. Now, I'm not saying that I've never used anything to do with Wiccanism. I mean, I have used little bits of Wicca. I've got a book which is right here. This book. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have this book, or have heard of this book, or at least seen it. As you see, it's called A Witch's Bible, The Complete Witch's Handbook, Janet and Stuart Farrar. Now, this, I find, is very Wicca-centric. If you are a Wiccan, this is good to have. If you're not a Wiccan, it's good to have purely for that word there, handbook. It is handy to just pick up and go, if you want to look up something fast. It's got a lot in there. It's got things to do with Sabbats. It's got a few little different rituals and what have you. It tells you a little bit about hand fasting and requiems, and you know, so it is good to have in that. But I find a lot of it is centered around if you're in a coven, which I'm not. So you know, if you are a Wiccan and you're in a coven, I would highly recommend this book. If you're not, I would still recommend it as a sort of, as I say, a handbook, something to just quickly pick up and have a look at. Now, lost my train of thought. Okay, so now, okay, I'm back. That was, so that's Wiccanism, or Wicca. Now, I've used little bits, like I say, I use that as a handbook. A lot of spells I do myself. I have a look at Wicca, and I kind of, not Wicca, sorry, I look at my books and go, oh, these are the herbs that are good for this, these are the herbs that are good for that, and I look at it and I think, right, okay, so that's what I need to do, and you know, that's good for this, that's good for that, and I sort of pool it all together, and then I come up with my own spells for it. I'm always very safe. I always cast a protective circle around me, but so that's kind of covering the Wicca side of it. Now, Druidry is something far older, and I feel that's where I'm pulled to. Maybe it's because of where I'm from, and I've got Kalian. If you've looked at my other videos, you know I've talked about Kalian before. I will one day eventually do a video in Kalian, but I won't go into that right now. So I feel a lot of druidic power around me. I think also because I'm a writer, I think I fit quite into the druidic bard. So I fit into that sort of, that writing and that storytelling, and I'm an actor as well, so you know, that's another way of storytelling. So that kind of sways me a bit more towards druidry, but it's something I need to look a lot more deeper into, because what I am and how I practice my magic and what I do is, you know, I don't feel it falls underneath Wicca, it doesn't fall underneath Druid. That's why I tell people I'm a pagan, because that is what I am and it's what I do, and I'm very spiritual. I meditate a lot, I work closely with my totem animals, as previously mentioned. Feeling the dragons a lot recently as well. I think Lord Daligan's onto something there. So, yeah, so, you know, paganism is such a broad term, and you can, you know, be marked and anything, even if, I mean, some people don't like to give themselves labels. I tell people, as I said, I'm a solitary witch and I'm a pagan, so I'd like to know what you are. Comment below, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you all so much for doing this. I'll put links to things I've mentioned. Hope you all have a lovely Samhain, positive energy and blessings. Bye!